Time to get to Sal Capaccio as part of our Football Friday. Jeremy and Joe here. Football Friday brought to you by Salino Law. Car crash, call Salino. Call the 8s and by Crosby's. Pizza and subs, Crosby's hometown fuel. Game day ready since 1922. Bills and Jets, Sunday, 1 o'clock. Last time these two teams played in New York, Joe was there.
I was.
And one thing to remember about that game is it was the most penalty-filled affair ever. And Sal, Joe tells the story that Jets fans and Bills fans in the stands were commiserating. Like, can you believe we have to go through this? Comforting each other through the penalties.
Sal, it was the weirdest experience ever where the beginning of the game, all the Bills and Jets fans not getting along at all, like yelling at each other, whatever. And then, by the fourth quarter, we're all like looking at each other talking like, this game stinks. This is a bad football game. But it was only because of the officiating.
I think there were 25 flags in that game. I'll pull it up to get the exact number.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that because generally Bills fans and Jets fans aren't the nicest of company together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for that to happen, that's good. What I remember about that game is two things last year. Number one, Ray Davis played and started, and the Bills fed him a lot early on because James Cook did not play in that game. And it was even Frank Gore even dressed, but it was the Bills went right down the field, ran the ball right at the Jets, and just scored on their opening drive. That's one thing I remember. The other is, Joe, you remember this. It was a night game in the middle of the ALCS, maybe it was, and they're showing the Yankees on the big screen.
Yes.
Right? And then and everybody was watching that during pregame before the lights shut off.
And they would wasn't there a moment, Sal, where would they show it also in the game during TV timeouts or something? Or maybe it was before the game. At one point, something important was happening in that game, and they shut the feed off right before a pitch or right before something happened. I'm vaguely remembering fans being
upset. Yes, I believe that was the case. They did. They shut it off right before something happened. It might have been. In fact, I think if I remember, it was some sort of wild pitch or something. It was a big play. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And yeah, for sure. But I remember that about the game too. So that was obviously in October.
Yep.
And it was a Monday night game. It was right around the time the Bills will be playing in Atlanta on Monday night this year. Actually.
Yeah. 22 penalties in all in that game. The Bills 11 penalties for 94 yards. The Jets 11 for 110. That's only the accepted penalties. Never mind the declined penalties. There is one other very memorable thing I think from that game that no one's mentioned yet. You know what else happened?
Wasn't there? There was a Hail Mary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers to Allen Lazard, Hail Mary at the end of the half.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing about that game, Sal, I heard you on with Shope and Bulldog yesterday about how these two teams they've never really been good at the same time, the Bills and Jets. There's never been these big important games. And this one isn't totally qualifies that because it was early, but this game last year, it was a 3-point game. Because of the Hail Mary at halftime, the Bills were 3-2 and the Jets were 2-3. That game was for at the time first place in the division. I mean, I don't know. The Jets season could have gone a lot differently if they had found a way to squeak that one out.
Well, listen, this game is the same very similarly because think about it this way, guys. As much as the Bills are 1-0 and everybody else in the division is 0-1, if the Jets beat the Bills drop to 0-3. Drop to third place automatically in the AFC East, because the Jets would have a head-to-head, and the winner of the Dolphins-Patriots game will have a win and a division win when the Bills will have a division loss.
Yeah.
So this game swings you from first place to third place in the AFC East.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we don't want to wake up Monday.
If you're the Bills, or for the Jets, I guess from third to first, I guess it could be, or whatever.
Yeah, you don't want to wake up Monday morning and open the standings and see them in third, even if it's only week 2.
Yeah.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. All right, Sal, so Ed Oliver, this news was kind of out of nowhere, right? Not exactly expected, and perhaps some clarification from Sean McDermott today when he joins you on the Extra Point Show.
Yeah, we'll hope to get some and maybe get a status for him on Sunday. Obviously, he was he was so good. He was tremendous last Sunday against the Ravens. You don't want to miss Ed Oliver. But here's what happened. So Thursday's a normal practice day generally. Then we got word that it would be a walkthrough practice for the Bills. And maybe because they had, a tougher practice on Wednesday, get their legs back under their bodies. It happens sometimes. So we were told it's a walkthrough. Media cannot watch a walkthrough practice, but we still get to talk to players after practice like a normal day would be. So that's what happened. We went in yesterday after walkthrough. We go into the locker room to talk to players, first thing I see Ed Oliver. He's playing ping pong and just playing with one of his teammates. But as I walk by him, I look down and see he has a boot on his left foot. And okay, well that's interesting. Now, my colleagues, we all saw the same thing. Now, to me, I'm going to be honest with you, like it doesn't immediately raise tons of alarm bells when I see that. It does. It's concerning. But the reason is I've just done this long enough to know that, like, I've seen guys in walking boots for precautionary measures, right? And if he's standing there playing a little ping pong, I'm not thinking too much about it. Like, wow, that's interesting. Geez, I hope he's okay. I wonder what happened. But he's playing ping pong. And now he's not. I want to give you the picture of what playing ping pong means. As I said yesterday, it's not like he's Jessica Pegula running around, the U.S. Open in baseline to baseline, right? He's standing there, but he's standing up, and he's hitting the ball back and forth, and he's playing like that. But he's not like running all around the locker room doing it, but he's playing. So you think, okay, well, he's got this on. Well, anyway, after that happens, as soon as he's done, he gets on one of those mini scooters, those scooters, and he elevates his foot, puts his leg up, and he rides away. So somebody asked, well, did you ask him what was going on? And just so everybody knows, and it's a great question. I appreciate the question because I want to tell everybody, when players are playing ping pong, that's their time, right? That's their time with their teammates. And I'm not in the media going to go interrupt them and start talking to them. That's their time. And then when he's done, he gets on the scooter and he goes to a spot, an area where we can't talk. So he kind of just rides away. So it's everything happened really quick. So we didn't talk to Ed. And then we find out that he was did not participate in practice. So we don't know where that stands right now. We'll find out more from Sean McDermott. But he did practice on Wednesday. He was a full participant on Wednesday because he wasn't on the injury report. I saw him at practice. I have video of him at practice on Wednesday. So something happened between Wednesday and Thursday. I'm not sure what it is, and we don't know the severity of it yet.
Well, we'll find out maybe today. 11 o'clock is about the time McDermott joins you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it could be a little before. Sometimes it could be a little after. So it always just depends on what the schedule is and how things are going down over with him and the Bills and their schedule. So I would just keep listening, and you'll be ready for Sean at any time.
Yeah, and I found that Oliver had a walking boot in 2022 and missed 3 games. So, without knowing the injury, just by wearing that, antenna are up. We'll of course, have the latest.
Sal, if they were to be without Oliver on Sunday, what would that do to, the numbers on game day? Like, who would maybe dress on game day that didn't? And then also what you think the rotation might look like? I would assume more for TJ Sanders.
I would, too. I mean, he's obviously number one backup, I think, to Ed Oliver right now. When you have 4 guys dressing, you'd have Deion Walker as Daquan Jones' main backup. So I would expect TJ Sanders to kind of get the start, but now you're dealing with 3 dressed defensive tackles. So somebody's got to come up from the practice squad. Jordan Phillips, Zion Logue, and Fedarian Mathis. They did sign a guy named Fedarian Mathis earlier this week. He was a former top 50 pick by the Washington Commanders, and that's just a few years ago. And it's just coincidental, really, they signed him, because if you look and say, well, they signed a guy, they must have known he was hurt. No, they signed him on Tuesday, I think it was, or Wednesday morning, and then Ed practiced on Wednesday. So they just signed him because they wanted to have a little more depth and get better, and he was out there. But now, I mean, you might be fortunate if you want to use him, who knows, this quickly. I don't know if that'd be the case. Or Jordan Phillips or Zion Logue. One of them would have to come up, because there's no way you're going into a game with only 3 guys at defensive tackle.
Sal Capaccio on the Wester Hotline. So defensive tackle could be an issue. Sal, looking back on the opener there, if there's no Oliver, you already undermanned, how did you feel like the rookies came out of it, and how did the Bills talk about it? With Deion Walker and TJ Sanders, we've known these two are going to be kind of thrust into those roles, especially with some of the suspensions the Bills have. what was the scouting report of the review on their play?
I mean, I thought that Deion Walker, TJ Sanders, could have done a better job, along with Daquan Jones, pretty much anybody up front, at squeezing gaps and getting Derrick Henry to the ground. But I don't specifically look at one of them and say, oh my God, he was terrible in that regard. I just think collectively as a unit, they allowed Derrick Henry a little bit too much. Ed Oliver's really the only one who kind of really did get into the backfield, penetrate. And when you think about it this way, guys, he had 6 solo tackles, right? So when I say that, it's like, well, if Ed Oliver's having a really good game, yeah, you want to credit some of his D linemen, that's fine. But literally, his tackles were all by himself. It's crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen a defensive tackle with 6 solo tackles in a game, none assisted. So I think that those guys have to do a better job. They're rookies, they're in their first game, but doesn't mean that they were individually bad at anything specifically they did or the whole game. It just means I think collectively as a D-line, what I saw was too many missed tackles right at the point of attack by the D-line. So I think they're going to have to be a little bit better there. And that includes the defensive ends, by the way. You can't allow Breece Hall in this case, Derrick Henry last week, to get through the first wave of defenders, because then it becomes an issue because you have Derrick Henry running against guys where he's a lot bigger than, he's got a full head of steam, and we talk about the linebackers, we talk about the safeties, but it's got to start up front.
Sal, with Tre'Davious White getting a couple of practices in, do you think that it's tracking towards him being available to them Sunday? And if he is, do you think he starts? Like, if he's active, he's on the field. One game from Dorian Strong that went, I think, okay, isn't enough to unseat Trey White?
No, I mean, I don't see that right now. If Tre'Davious White's playing, he's starting. That's the way I look at it. He's the starter, right? I don't think the Bills are suddenly like, oh my God, look at the rookie. He was really good. It's not. I mean, he played fine. There's no doubt about that. But Tre'Davious White's the starter. I think it would have to take multiple weeks of Tre'Davious White not playing well, and not even if Dorian Strong looks really good. To me, this is Tre'Davious White. I hate saying job to lose, but I think he'd have to kind of lose it, right? Where you're like, oh my God, like we got to do something different here. If that's not the case, I don't think you're putting Dorian Strong on defense in place of Tre'Davious White. So it was good to see Tre'Davious White 2 days in a row. He was limited both days, but that's trending well. He wouldn't give an answer when asked, what he thinks about Sunday. He's not going to do that. But the way he's talking, the way it's looking on the injury report, I'm very encouraged that he could be available for the Bills on Sunday.
The Jets receiving corps, it's very much a one-man show. Like, it's Garrett Wilson, and then there's really not much else after that. And Josh Reynolds, who starts, might not even play on Sunday. Is there any... The Bills don't really use Christian Benford like as a shadow corner, right? Like, they do not follow him around. I don't know what they did with him on Sunday against Baltimore, but has there been any even question about like whether they'll start doing that with him this year, given that the other position's a little bit in flux?
I wonder too, Joe. I don't know. Especially with a team like this, where if you look at the Jets last week, I don't know if you looked at the Jets. You see the Jets like stats last week, and targets and all that. I mean, it was pretty much Garrett Wilson and then nothing else, right? I mean, I think he had 9, and then the next closest had 2. As far as catches are concerned. Let's see. I got to bring it up right now. 9 targets, Breece Hall 4, and then after that, 2. Josh Reynolds with 3, and he might not play, like you said. Like, that's it. It's Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver getting targets here.
So they had 5 total targets for all the other receivers, wide receivers combined in that game.
Yeah. So I do wonder if they would do that with Christian Benford, and I do think it would be on a game-by-game basis, right? Like, depending on who your opponent is and receivers. And Garrett Wilson is a lot of what they do, throwing the ball. So we'll see. You might just feel comfortable, hey, we got Tre'Davious White, we got Christian Benford. Wherever he lines up, we're going to just go and we're going to play football. And I think the Bills, that's their general philosophy that we've seen over the years. But I do wonder if they do something like that with Christian Benford now in his 4th year, getting a contract showing that he is that type of cornerback that they could rely on to, be a true number one.
Talking about the Bills matchup in New York with the Jets, getting through some of those injuries, and that's, of course, the Barnes Firm Injury Report, brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured? For help, call 1-800-8-million. Sal, one thing the afternoon guys were talking about yesterday I found interesting. Can you remember a time when the Bills and the Jets were both good? You guys were mentioning the game last year where kind of the Jets are 2-3, they're a game back. Because I can say... I've been watching and covering the Bills for quite a long time. They've never been good, I want to say, in my lifetime together. The 90s, maybe. But, I'm not really keyed in at that time.
But not the early 90s, right, Sal?
It's been forever since the two of them were good at the same time.
Yeah, and listen, when I grew up, the first playoff game I ever remember for the Bills was against the Jets. It was a wild card game, 1981. And the Bills had a real big lead early in the game. The Jets came storming back. Bills win the game late. A lot of the OGs out there listening because we're getting older now. Bill Simpson with the interception over the middle. Richard Todd trying to hit Wesley Walker. I remember it vividly. It was so long ago, guys. The Jets were playing at Shea Stadium at the time.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, that's and then from there, then the Bills progressively they got bad in the mid '80s, and the Jets weren't that bad at all. And in fact, there was a game in 1986 where the famous drive from John Elway against the Browns, the week before that, the Jets played the Browns, and it went to overtime. And if the Jets wind up winning that game, you don't get Elway against the Browns that year in '86. So the Jets were good then in the late '80s, and then the Bills come along, and they become a lot better than the Jets in the early '90s. They go to the Super Bowls. The Jets aren't that good. And then it kind of flips a little bit for a little while. And then for a hot minute, maybe for late '90s, both teams kind of had their moments against each other, but they weren't like really good. But they had a few battles there, if I remember correctly, and I have to go back and look. And then I remember early 2000s when the Bills were in their drought, but they had a few times where they started off hot and it looked like it was going well. And I remember when LaDainian Tomlinson came to Buffalo with the Jets, and the Bills had that nice start one year. Maybe it was 2011, actually, if I remember right. Maybe it was after that year. And the Bills and the Jets came in and they beat the Bills. And that was Rex Ryan, I think, coaching the Jets, right? But that's just about as close as you get. And it's funny to think about now how we were here in Buffalo in a 17-year playoff drought. And now it's overlapping with, and the Jets had made playoffs during that time. They'd made 2 AFC championship games. And now the Jets are in a 14-year playoff drought.
And the Bills have made 2 AFC championship games. Yeah. And there was a game in the middle there where the Jets could have had a lot shorter of a playoff drought because Fitzpatrick had a chance to make the playoffs here. For them, that's probably the most important game they've played during the drought, right? Like, that's a win and you're in the playoffs. And Fitz comes here and what, he threw four picks? Like, it wasn't a good game from him.
I saw something the other day where he was on a podcast with somebody, and I apologize for who know who was, but he said he was asked, is there a throw in your career, a play in your career you want back? And he talked about Leotis McKelvin picking him off in that game when he tried to hit Eric Decker, and like that was something he should have thrown that ball, and if he doesn't throw that ball, maybe the Jets make the playoffs.
Right. Is that the one I'm trying to remember. I'm at that game. At the end of the half, maybe, he threw a pick. I don't remember. There was a big, important interception by McKelvin, though.
I thought I remembered that game to be a blowout, but it was not. It was 22-17. Like, the Jets were in that game.
No, they were in it. Yeah.
And they finished. Yeah. Here's the other thing. They finished 10-6
and missed.
All right, the Bills drought.
Well, there was only 6 playoff teams then.
But still, the Bills drought, for most of it, they never had a 10-win season.
No.
And here the Jets actually had a 10-win season and didn't make it.
Yeah, it was second.
What year was this again?
2015.
15.
It was second and 10. They were down by. The Jets were down 19-17. They're down 2. They have second and 10 on the Bills' 14-yard line.
Oof.
And Fitz throws a pick to McKelvin.
You can understand why he'd want that back, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
And then
I'm looking now in 2015, they did get the 7 seed. They would have made it with the implementation because they were 2 games clear of the Bills at 8-8 for the 8th seed.
The final man, this has got to be tough for Fitz. The final 3 drives of that game. You win and you go to the playoffs. This is a quarterback who never made the playoffs, by the way. He throws that pick to McKelvin down 2. He gets the ball back down 5. And with 2 minutes left on 3rd and 9, down 5, he throws a pick to Manny Lawson. And then you think, okay, game over, right? Nope. Defense gets him the ball back. Down 5. There's 44 seconds left. Interception to A.J. Tarpley.
Knowing what we know now, if you could give Fitz that win.
3 picks to end the game.
Would you give him that win?
That'd be tough. I don't know.
We're all happy now. We're in a good place. Fitz loves.
It's not about Fitz. It's about the Jets having a playoff drought.
I know.
If I could magically get Fitz into the playoffs somewhere else in his career, I would do that instead.
Okay.
It would still be a 10-year. I think I'm with Sal, though. I don't want the Jets. That was, I had never really lived life before. That was a great day in the stadium.
It was amazing.
That was a great day in the stadium. You capped a team out that you hated, or at least didn't like. So, no, I wouldn't trade that day for... Sorry, Fitz.
Did you guys, real quick before I go, did you guys see, I tweeted out a piece of an article I read this morning from Dan Shaughnessy. And there was the article is basically about, and it's true, and it's funny to say, and you're like, come on, what are we doing? But it's true because I thought, man, this is what we did with the Bills for how many years? And the article is basically, and what he writes is, very quickly, fair or unfair, it feels like every Patriots game now is a referendum on second-year quarterback Drake May. Man, were we there how many times on a second-year quarterback? It doesn't matter what you think about him, how good he was his rookie year. That's exactly right. It's true. We sat here for every quarterback, including Josh Allen, and by the time you get to his second year, you're like, everything's about the quarterback. It doesn't matter. How good is he?
Well, we were one of two things. We were either that, or we're where the Jets are now, Sal, who is like guy on his third team, and he has a good game. Right. We're like, oh, maybe this is the guy, even though he's been discarded by like 3 other teams.
That's right. But anyway, I thought that was really interesting this morning, that was the article written by Dan Shaughnessy over at, the Boston Globe, I believe it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, that Patriots-Dolphins game, big implications. Somebody's going to be 0-2, and I think it's a problem for either team. The Patriots are supposed to have a good season here, and the Dolphins are trying to pull it together and making changes to their offensive line like the Dolphins are.
And they're at the Bills 4 days later.
Yeah,
so.
right. It's going to be tough. All right, Sal, we'll be listening today for Sean McDermott, the update on Ed Oliver.
All right, you got it, guys. Thanks.
Sal Capaccio, he is joined by Sean McDermott right around, sometimes between 10:45, 11:15, that neighborhood on the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show. 803-0550 is our phone number. It is a Football Friday.